chairperson, Councillor Boland, Councillor Brown and Councillor Jewett. There's also a statement of ethical obligations. All councillors undertook an oath or affirmation at the beginning of their term of office and declared to undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Broken Hill local government area and the city of Broken Hill, and that they will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in them under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment. Live streaming and recording of meetings. This committee meeting is being live streamed via YouTube and recorded and published online via Council's website. To those present in the meeting today, by attending this public meeting, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. The chairperson and or the general manager have the authority to pause the live stream if comments or debate are considered defamatory or otherwise inappropriate for publishing. Participants are advised that they may be subject to legal action if they engage in unlawful behaviour or commentary. Okay, the second item on is the apologies. There's an apology from Councillor Jewett. Can we have a mover for Councillor Jewett's apology? Move Councillor Brown. Seconded, Councillor Boland. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 3, leave of absence. There's one leave of absence, and that leave of absence is for Deputy Mayor Hickey, who is on council business. Can we have a mover for Councillor Brown? Seconded, Mayor Kennedy. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Call on Councillor Boland for Mayor Kennedy for the prayer.
Almighty God, we ask you to invoke your blessing upon this council, direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement and true welfare of the people of Broken Hill, of the council area and our state and Australia. Amen.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Call on Councillor Brown for the acknowledgement of the country.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet today, the land of the Wilyakalli people, and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging.
And Councillor Boland for acknowledgement of Broken Hill's mining history.
We take this time to reflect, remember and honour the over 800 miners that lost their lives and those that were crippled or maimed on the line of load. We thank the brave miners and their wives who were part of the 1919 to 1920 strike that lasted over 500 days and delivered a 35-hour working week. Mining is our past and future.
Thank you. Now we move on to item 7, the minutes. Do we have a mover for the minutes? Move, Mayor Kennedy. Seconded. Councillor Brown. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest?
Just on item number 5, community assistance grants. One of the applicants is from the soccer. I have a non-pecuniary interest and I will remain in the room.
Right. No further declarations of interest? What could I ask the Mayor, what report was that?
Report
Item-
number 5, the community assistance grants.
Thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 9, onto the reports.
I'll move item,
Report number 1.
I'll move
item-
item 1, the recommendation at number 3 that we send correspondence to the Minister for Local Government and the Shadow Minister for the Local Government about our concerns for the costs of implementing the Code of Conduct and Complaints and the negative impact it has on the council as a whole.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Bolland. Speakers? Speak to that,
Yeah,
Mayor Kennedy?
definitely speak to that. So in the report, $52,596 for 6 complaints that will likely go nowhere other than a report given. One is a breach and it goes back to the general manager. They all went to a conduct reviewer. These items cause huge amount of stress on the people that they're complained against. It's a cost to the community, has no benefit to the community whatsoever.
Yeah.
In most cases, it's kept confidential on who puts these complaints in. The community never gets to find out what the complaints are about. So you've got this thing lying over the head of potential different councillors without any ability for those councillors or employers to defend themselves. It is a terrible bit of legislation. I'm thankful that the Shadow Local Government Minister at the recent local government conference said how disgraceful they think the whole legislation is.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Further speakers? I'd have to wholeheartedly agree. And I've said right from the beginning of the instigation of this particular model code of conduct that its main use has been to be a means by which people can get back at other people for personal reasons, not necessarily for substantive reasons that warrant such a code of conduct complaint to be lodged in the first place.
Just on that, Councillor Allgate, if you don't mind. So the Shadow, from all reports from Councillor Jim Hickey, the Shadow Minister has acknowledged that concerns as far as potential complaints lodged to have a go at people, vexatious complaints. They're looking at legislation to actually punish people who put in
Frivolous complaints.
without warrant.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Further speakers? Put it to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 2, Broken Hill City Council report number 259/22, dated November 04, 2022, the draft annual report 2021-2022. And I'll just make note that Councillor Brown queried the attendance figures, and those attendance figures will be corrected prior to the council meeting. Can we have a mover?
I'll move that way.
Moved, Councillor Bolland. Seconded, Councillor Brown. Speakers?
I'll just make a quick comment that it's a well put together report, reading through the bulk of it now. And yeah, all I can say, it's a well put together report, and I'll have it fully read by the time of the council meeting. And that'll be it for my comments.
Thanks, councillor Boland. Further speakers?
Yeah, just employee organisations cultural survey comparison results.
Can I ask what page that is?
It's on
Mayor?
page 57, page 43 of 68 of the report. Just the improvement in overall, I suppose you'd say it, satisfaction amongst employees in the council over this period. It might be a little bit hard to see in the diagram, but it should be easy enough to see on the computer. But it more or less shows that there's been an overall way improvement. If not to put manager of infrastructure on the spot, because it is a little bit difficult to read, if just through the chair, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Mr. General Manager.
Through the chair to Mayor Kennedy. So council have been on this cultural journey for the last 5 years, working on our employee satisfaction as well as organisational culture. You can see with the two diagrams where we were in 2019 compared to this year's results, and with the blue, that's the constructive attitudes and satisfaction of the workforce, which has significantly increased, as well as the task orientated and defensive style behaviours have decreased, which for an organisation to see that kind of turnaround over the last 4 or 5 years is excellent.
For sure.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Further speakers? Councillor Brown?
Yes, I would support Councillor Boland's comments. I mean, I think it's a really useful document. I just have a couple of questions. Do we make any hard copies of this? Because it's a really useful reference. I mean, not everyone is able to sort of to access the electronic version, you know, just when you need it. Sometimes there's definitely a place for hard copies. Do we print a few hard copies and put them at the library, for example, or anywhere?
I'm not sure. Mr. General Manager?
Through the chair to Councillor Brown, yes, we do. So we print off copies and
Okay.
Distribute around for the community.
Or just put a few in the library or in the ground floor and places like that where people can see
Can view
them.
them. Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, in the old days, of course, everyone got
We
an
got a hard copy.
abbreviated hard copy, not a document of this size, but
That's
you know,
right.
a smaller one.
Yeah,
And I know, you know, that's the cost is fairly prohibitive to do that, but I just think there is still, you know, people are still after hard copies of things like, well, you know, for example, tourist information and so on. And I think reports like this, because it is a good reference, you know,
Yeah,
through the year. It's not just
yeah,
just
I
a
agree.
report on
There's
what's
some,
being done. It's a good it's a good reference for a whole lot of things. And I do have another question about the report on the attendance at committees. I'm not sure. Obviously, attendance at the standing committees isn't included in those. It just seems to me a bit incomplete, or maybe a bit misleading. I'm talking about that very first section there with the attendance at council meetings, which doesn't include standing committee meetings clearly, and workshops and briefings, I think. And I don't know, you know, how it's not very and the asterisk that says the note that's comment that says not all briefings were for all councillors. I don't know that that's very helpful. It doesn't explain anything very much. So I just think that section needs to be maybe looked at again.
Well, as I said to you earlier, I agree. That was misleading. The comment below the table of attendances.
Excuse me, councillor, what page is that on?
Oh, I couldn't tell you
beginning.
now. 21.
21.
Yeah.
It's the table of where the attendances of all councillors. And there's
Oh,
a comment. There's a comment at the bottom of the table, if I remember right.
Yes, it's an asterisk. Not all briefings were intended for all councillors or something. Well, I don't know what that means, unless there have been briefings that not all of us were told about, because I
Yeah.
can't recall any briefings that weren't for the whole.
Well,
council.
I found that a little bit
Yeah,
confusing
Just
as well.
don't know, it's just confusing.
Further speakers? Mayor Kennedy?
Actually, yes, there is one. And just to go on from what councillor Brown said and some of the information that's provided in this document. One is dogs and cats being picked up. So about 370 dogs were picked up over the period or surrendered. 340 were found homes. 340 odd cats were picked up and only 120 were rehomed and 7 returned to owners. So it's those little bits of information, and that's why I'm thankful that we've got our working group to do with Companion Animals Act, and hopefully that improves over a period of time for cats as well. But it's those little bits of information that are in the report that actually helps the community understand a little bit of what goes on with council. So totally agree with councillor Brown about making sure that this document does get out so people can actually have a bit of a read, and gives you a bit of a background on what's happening in council. With the attendances, we probably need to look at whether we just have the attendances for council meetings and standing committee meetings of which are memberships, rather than having briefings in there at all.
Yeah, I think so.
Just me as
That
the
might be.
mayor, I go am meant to go to all the briefings, so it's going to look like. So maybe we need to look for the next policy and general meeting about changing that to for the next annual report.
Well, councillor Bolland might add that to.
Well, but there'll be no need to do it at the moment, simply because the next annual report's not till
12 months.
12 months. But I think we need to make sure that it can be brought up at the meeting, that the council meeting, that we need to look at why all the councils are there probably.
Further speakers or comment? No, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 3, Broken Hill City Council Report number 260/22 dated October 11, 2022. Draft Records Management Policy, page 182. Do we have a mover?
I'll move that.
Move, Mayor Kennedy. Seconded. Brown, councillor Brown. Speak to it, Mayor Kennedy.
No, just the usual policy, well written, has everything in it that it needs to.
Further speakers or comment? Put it to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 4, Broken Hill City Council Report number 261/22 dated November the 4th, 2022. Investment Report for October 2022 on page 180.
I'll move that way.
Moved. Mayor Kennedy.
Councillor Boland, I'll second it though.
Sorry. Seconded. Councillor Kennedy. Mayor Kennedy, Jesus. Speak to it,
Thank you, councillor Aldgate. Good to see it's back to even keel after a few bumpy months. Interest rates are up again. There's talk that they'll be above 4% by May next year. So consideration to be made that cash is looking like a safer investment right now. And all I can say is thank goodness none of us were invested in any cryptocurrencies. Otherwise, we'll be licking our wounds. But of course, that's a risky investment that would never happen. But other than that, well-balanced portfolio.
Thanks, councillor Boland.
Just a quick one.
Further speakers?
Yeah, just these are the sort of things that you read, and it shows just how out of touch economic people can be sometimes. Domestic issues. The September quarter inflation data surprised the market with a higher than expected headline increase of 7.3% year over year, the biggest annual increase since 1990. I don't think there'd be many people out in the wider community or on this council that would be a surprise to at all. For us, it's probably well below what we expected. So I don't know how these economists, maybe Councillor Boland can explain it, but I don't know how these economists don't understand that the price of housing, the price of electricity, the price of food, what did they think was going to come out?
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. Further speakers?
I can add on that. I think the problem with the economist class in Sydney is they're always using past figures. The economy is always estimated, or they always estimate on prior figures and prior stats and statistics that are always a couple of months or a month out of date. And when you're on the ground level like we are, we see the increases, and most of them are on $1 million+ a year, so it doesn't really bother them. Yeah, they don't buy their own food, but they're relying on figures that have come out or have been produced from 12 weeks prior for some of them. And I don't think it reflects what we see, as we're always on the ground floor. I certainly know in my day-to-day operations, fresh food is always the first thing you notice. You know inflation is on its way up when your fresh food invoices are increasing at a rate of knots. Not many of them have mentioned the S word, which is stagflation, but it's certainly an option out there when you deal day to day in the economy. So I think basically they live in their ivory towers. They don't live in the real world. They're not approving invoices like all of us would in a room on a day-to-day basis for a large business. So when you're relying on data that's 4, 6, 12 weeks old, you're going to make the wrong calls from time to time. And I think the biggest or the stupidest call has been interest rates won't rise until 2025, when most of us on the ground floor, when he was saying that, are going, no way. That is going to happen.
Thank you, councillor Boland. Further speakers or comment? Put it to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 5, the Broken Hill Community Council Report number 262/22 dated November the 15th, 2022. Community assistance grants awarded for round 2 of 2022/2023 on page 205. Councillor Kennedy has a non-pecuniary interest in that and will sit in. And will you vote, or
Yeah.
you will vote? Okay.
Because the vast majority of items are related.
So do we have a mover? Councillor Brown. Seconder, councillor Boland. Speak to it, councillor Brown.
Yes, just briefly, it's good to see that the message is getting out that these grants are, available for or application by organisation. So, you know, you've budgeted pretty well with the with the grants that have been suggested and used up the money that's available rather than having the surplus that we've had the last couple of times we've been through this exercise. So that's a good thing. It's much more competitive. So, you know, people miss out, they'll hopefully, you know, have better luck next time.
And if you look at the list, they're very worthy recipients. Further comment or speakers?
Yeah, just briefly, they all are worthy, well, acknowledgement that a lot of these grant applications come in the final week. So it looked like we only had one leading up to the meeting, and then all of a sudden I think there was a few councillors, maybe Councillor Page or someone who made sure there was plenty out there. So we ended up, so I just agree with Councillor Brown. It's good to have people actually applying for it, and the word did get out in the last week. And when it did get out, there's some worthy smallish sort of grants around that 5,000 mark, which really help those organisations.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 6, Broken City Council Report number 263/22, dated November the 3rd, 2022. Section 3.5 Annual and Financial Reports for 2021, 2022 on page 212. Do we have a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Brown. Seconded, Councillor Bolland. Speak to it, Councillor Brown.
No, Mr. Chair, I think it's
Okay.
pretty obvious.
Further speakers or comment? All those in favour? Thank you, carried unanimously. Item 7, Broken Hill City Council Report number 264/22, dated November the 3rd, 2022. Nominations for the appointment of community representatives to Section 355 community committees. On page 2,218, geez, I don't know where I get that 2,000.
I'll move that.
Move, Mayor Kennedy. Seconded, Mayor, Councillor Brown. Speak to it, Councillor Kennedy, Mayor Kennedy.
Just that it's good that people still are nominating for committees, and as a council, we need to keep on promoting that because they're very important.
Okay, that's the final item. So I'll close this meeting of the Policy and General Committee at 5:59.
We'll vote on that one, Bob. All in favour?
Pardon?
The last one.
Oh, I didn't vote on it. Sorry. Have a vote.
That wasn't
Carried.
important.
I thought it was done and dusted. Okay, we finished close the meeting at 5:59. Thanks for your attendance. See you at the council meeting next Wednesday.